Hi, Mia. Today we'll work on training your brain to think in English. Are you ready?
Hi, teacher. Yes, I'm ready. But I'm curious. Why is thinking in English so important? Usually I just translate in my head, but it takes time and sometimes I get stuck.
Great question, Mia. When you think in English, you train your brain to perceive the language naturally without relying on translation from your native language. This makes your speech faster and more fluent, and it also helps you understand English better since you're not constantly switching between languages.
Do you notice that translation slows you down?
Yes, definitely. Especially when I'm talking to someone and have to pause to find the right words. Sometimes I even lose track of the conversation. This is very common. By training your brain to think directly in English, you'll avoid these pauses and feel more confident in conversations. Let's start with a simple exercise. Think in individual words. Look around and name everything you see in English.
Okay, let me try. I see a computer, a desk, a chair, a window, and a plant. But what if I don't know the word for something? Should I just skip it?
Great question. If you don't know a word, don't skip it. Describe it in English. For example, if you don't know the word bookshelf, you could say, "It's a place where I put my books." This way, your brain keeps working in English and you'll learn new words along the way. Try describing something you see, but don't know the word for.
All right, I see something that holds papers together. I don't know the exact word, but I can say it's a tool that keeps papers together.
Perfect. That's exactly how to do it. You're keeping your brain in English mode, and that's the main goal. By the way, that tool is called a paperclip, but now you have a way to describe it if you forget the word. Now let's move on to thinking in sentences. What simple sentences can you come up with based on what you're doing right now?
I can say, I'm sitting at the desk, or I'm learning English, but sometimes I'm not sure if the sentence is correct. What should I do if I'm unsure?
That's a great start. Don't worry about mistakes when practicing on your own. The key is to keep practicing. If you're really unsure, you can write the sentence down and check it later, or ask someone. It's all part of the learning process. What other sentences can you think of to describe your surroundings?
Let me think. The sun is shining through the window and my plant is growing. What if I want to talk about my plans for later? How do I say that in English?
Great question. For future plans, you can use phrases like, "I'm going to," or "I will." For example, "I'm going to study English later," or "I will call my friend tonight." How would you describe your plans for the rest of the day?
I'd say, I'm going to cook dinner and then watch a movie. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. You're doing great. Describing your plans in English is an excellent way to practice using different tenses. You can also talk about what you did earlier. For example, "This morning, I went for a walk." How would you describe your morning?
This morning, I had breakfast, then studied a little. After that, I went to the store. But sometimes I forget the words to describe what I did. How can I improve my memory for English words?
That's a common issue, but there are a few strategies. One effective method is to use new words in sentences right after learning them. You can also review them regularly, for example, before bed or after waking up. Flashcards help a lot too. How do you usually try to memorize new words?
I usually write them down in a notebook, but sometimes I forget to review them. Maybe I should start using flashcards or an app. Do you think that would help?
Absolutely. Flashcards and apps are very effective because they make reviewing fun and interactive, and they help you practice regularly, which is crucial for memorizing new words. Another tip: try to use new words in conversation as soon as possible, even if it's just talking to yourself. How often do you practice spoken English?
I try to speak English several times a week, but since I'm usually alone, I talk to myself, or sometimes even to my dog. That seems a little weird. Is that normal?
It's completely normal to feel a bit strange talking to yourself, but it's actually very good practice. Speaking English to yourself helps reinforce what you've learned and makes thinking in English easier. Plus, it's a great way to prepare for real conversations. You can even imagine you're talking to another person. What phrases do you usually say when talking to yourself in English?
I typically say things like, I'm cooking dinner now, or I need to finish this task. Sometimes I even pretend I'm chatting with a friend asking, how was your day, and answering myself.
Great. Pretending to have conversations is a wonderful way to practice. You can imagine different situations, like ordering food at a restaurant or asking for directions. This will help you feel more confident in everyday English conversations.
What other situations could I imagine?
You could pretend you're in a store asking for help. For example, "Excuse me, where can I find bread?" Or if you're traveling, "How do I get to the train station?" These are great examples. By imagining yourself in different scenarios, you build confidence. The more you practice these situations, the more prepared you'll feel in real life. Another good exercise is to describe your day in detail from morning to evening. Want to try?
Sure. This morning I woke up early and had breakfast, then went for a walk and enjoyed the fresh air. After that, I came home and started studying English. Later, I'm going to cook dinner and watch a movie. How was that?
That was excellent. You described your day perfectly. This kind of practice helps you think in English more naturally and freely. You could also try planning your day in English first thing in the morning. It sets the tone for the whole day. Have you ever planned your day in English before?
Not really, but I like the idea. Usually I think about my day in my native language, but now I'll try doing it in English. For example, today I'm going to study, then meet a friend for coffee. Does that sound good?
Sounds perfect. Planning your day in English is a great habit that keeps your brain working in English mode and lets you practice different tenses. Another interesting way to practice is describing what you see or do throughout the day. Like, "I'm drinking coffee," or "I'm going to the store." What do you think?
I think I can do that. I'll start with simple descriptions of what I'm doing or seeing around me. But what if I'm not sure how to describe something? Should I just skip it?
If you're unsure how to describe something, don't skip it. Try to describe it as simply as you can. For example, if you don't know the word umbrella, you could say, "This is what you use when it rains." This helps you think in English and learn new ways to express yourself.
Right now I see a TV remote. I could say, "This is a device I use to change channels on the TV." Does that work?
Works perfectly. You're great at finding ways to express yourself in English. Over time, you'll expand your vocabulary and be able to describe things in more detail. Also, try challenging yourself by describing more complex things or even your thoughts and feelings. How would you describe what you're feeling right now?
Right now I feel excited because I'm learning something new, but a little nervous because I want to make sure I'm doing everything right. Is that normal?
That's an excellent way to express your feelings. Being able to describe your emotions in English is very important, especially in real conversations. It's completely normal to feel a little nervous, but remember that mistakes are part of learning. The more you practice, the more confident you'll become. Do you have any other questions about thinking in English?
Yes, one more question. How long will it take before I can think in English without so much effort?
That's a very common question, and the answer depends on how often you practice. The more regularly you train yourself to think in English, the quicker it will become natural for you. For some people, it might take a few months of regular practice. For others, longer. The important thing is to keep going, even when it feels challenging.
How often do you think I should practice?
I believe practicing every day, even if just for a few minutes, will really help. Start with individual words, then move to sentences and full conversations. That's an excellent plan. You're already making great progress, Mia. Just keep practicing, be patient, and remember, every small effort counts. Soon you'll find yourself thinking in English as naturally as anything. Any other thoughts or questions before we finish?
No, I think everything's clear now. I'm really looking forward to practicing more. Thank you so much for all your help.
You're very welcome, Mia. I'm really proud of your progress and your persistence. Keep up the great work. And if you have any questions or need more help, don't hesitate to ask. You've got this.
Thank you, teacher. I'll keep practicing and let you know how it goes. I'm sure I'll see progress soon.
If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please subscribe, give it a like, and leave a comment if you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback about the video. Thank you, and see you in the next video.